Welcome to this edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks is being activated today for two reasons. Number one, we do have a pretty significant threat of severe thunderstorms in the Midwest, lower Great Lakes states for later on today. Also, the long-range patterns suggest that the first few weeks of April could be pretty active with severe thunderstorms. Let's take a look. So for today, and by today I mean probably late afternoon, right around dinner time, 5 to 6 o'clock into the early evening and even slightly into the overnight hours, we're talking about this severe thunderstorm threat, which is a level 3 out of 5. The Storm Prediction Center has organized this into these 5 levels to indicate relative risk. So level 3 is in the middle, and it stretches from central Illinois through northern and central Indiana all the way over, almost including all of Ohio, including major cities would be Cleveland, Toledo, Indianapolis. South Bend, Indiana is included in that on the northern edge. Champaign-Urbana, Bloomington, maybe Peoria, Illinois, all on that highest level. But the risk for some kind of severe weather does extend all the way back to Kansas City and all the way out to central Pennsylvania for today. So let's try to break this down by category. In other words, what type of severe weather are we going to expect? So this is the tornado forecast. So all of these I'm about to show you are all the risk of whatever we're talking about happening within a 25-mile radius of any point. So we have a 5% tornado risk indicated by the scale here on the left side that runs almost in exact proximity to where that enhanced level 3 is. In fact, that is probably the reason for that, at least a large part of it. And so that's something worth watching. The key on this is to try to get the supercells to develop ahead of the approaching cool front independently of the front. They have a better chance of forming tornadoes. It's probably not the greatest risk out there today, but it is a risk nevertheless. Now, we do have other things that the Storm Prediction Center produces. We had updated graphics for you here now. I just kind of organize this a little bit better. So this is the severe hail outlook, and it, again, encompasses that same area just about where the tornado risk is, a 30% chance of severe hail. Again, left side of your screen indicates the scale. So what does that mean? Chance within 25 miles, yes, but what kind of hail does that mean? 1 inch or more in diameter is how the National Weather Service defines severe hail. On the wind side of things, there is a 30% chance. Again, almost in the exact same area as that level 3, from central Illinois due east, almost, well, just about to the Pennsylvania border for the wind risk, a little bit bigger. And a severe wind is anything 59 miles per hour or greater. They do have new hatched areas. I haven't made new graphics for those yet that show you what the actual winds will be, maybe beyond the severe criteria. So, in other words, what's the chance of hail greater than 1 inch, maybe say greater than 2 inches? Or on wind, what's the chance of not just being above 59, but what's it above being hurricane force, 75 miles per hour. So those are graphics that will be coming now. In fairness, this particular outlook doesn't push those buttons too heavily, but I'm sure future ones will. If we take a look at the Colorado State University thunderstorm probabilities by category, tornado shows pretty predominantly in that same area that the SPC has highlighted. Pretty good hail risk. That all extends back westward a little bit to around the Hannibal-Quincy area. And then the wind risk is not as high, but it is still a broad area from, let's say, central Missouri all the way up to Pittsburgh, PA. On Nadocast, we're just looking at tornadoes specifically. They're emphasizing more the Ohio area, and this will be later on tonight, I think, probably, 8, 9 o'clock. Thunderstorms that are forecast to develop here will move in this direction. By then, they may not be isolated, but they may be more in a line form. So we have Boeing line segments that often produce tornadoes as well. So that's something that needs to be kept an eye on throughout the day. If we look at some of the products coming out of the Storm Prediction Center, this is the HRRR. This is the maximum updraft helicity. So just basically means, are these supercells? You can see these little, I call these snail trails because these are what this particular model thinks some of the supercells might be doing here. And this is 7 p.m. tonight. And if we take a look, that's the HRRR. There's another model among many that they run there, 7 p.m. This is just a different convection allowing model, and can spit that out. And again, it shows just kind of a smattering of supercells just in that general area. So if you're wondering if I'm in chase mode today, boy, I thought about it even this morning. But for me, the window is too narrow and the light too short to drive all the way out to this area here in anticipation of severe weather. But now let's change gears a little bit. Even though it'll be quiet after today for quite a number of days through the weekend and through maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week, things start to change. Let's take a look. So this is the EPS. This is the average over a 7-day period starting Monday, this coming Monday, and it shows what the dew points are doing and how anomalous they'll be. In other words, how much above or below normal will they be? So you're seeing definitely a pattern shift here. Whenever you see that the dew points are running a little high for the season, you definitely know that the Gulf is open for business. So we get a lot of our moisture supply, and you can infer instability from that loosely. Coming up from the Gulf. In fact, its existence is part of what gives this part of the world its notorious tornado characteristics. It's interesting that a lot of these dew point anomalies, so in other words, the flow actually goes quite a bit westward into Texas, northern Mexico, New Mexico, so there could be some high plains chasing, dry line opportunities coming there, but also the Midwest is moistening up a little bit too. Now, it's always risky to look at this, but I do always use the ensemble models to try to figure out what's going on. So this is Wednesday about midday. This is the EPS showing a definite shift. Remember all the hot weather out west and also into the Great Plains? That was because of one big old high pressure system sitting here. Well, that's gone. It's actually here now. It shifted to the east a little bit. So this is a big old trough of low pressure. And then we have little short waves like this one. This is a very interesting feature. A negatively tilted trough is showing up on the California coast Wednesday, according to the European version of these ensembles. If we look at the GFS American version, it still shows a little short wave coming out here and not as much infringement from those winds, a little later perhaps on the arrival of those winds that may carve out that trough here. But the big differences are how those two models are defining this short wave here. So that will have some impact over severe weather out ahead of it on Wednesday. So keep that day in mind. And then the EPS 2 days later on Friday has a pretty significant trough out here with high-level winds across all the plains. So anything here would be a risk area for severe storms if that pans out. And it looks like the moisture will be there for that, which will at least aid in instability. There's all kinds of other factors that could nip this in the bud. You know, if you have too much, capping, then nothing will happen. We all know those. But anyway, it's worth looking at. Now, what's interesting for Friday of next week is that the GPS is completely different. So this is what starts putting a lot of uncertainty into these forecasts that go beyond 6 or 7 days. So we'll just have to keep an eye on this and see how this is going to pan out. Now, the NIU model grabs all this stuff with other models that uses as well and looks at a composite index. So this right here, all this is today. That's it. Nothing else beyond April 1st. Now, if we go ahead to April 1st through the 8th, we sure do see an uptick in probabilities of supercells forming from Iowa straight to West Texas. And again, that emphasis is interesting there because it implies that there's going to be a strong easterly flow into that part of Texas. So I think some storm chases for me out to there next week look probable. And then on April, I didn't change the day, and I should be the 9th through the 15th, so don't pay any attention to that. But look what happens here. And again, this is week 3, so grain of salt definitely in effect for that. But there's been some consistent signals that suggest that, any time in the spring when you can get consistent 500 millibar flow shaped like that out west, you're always under the gun for severe weather possibilities. If you like this video, found it educational, useful, like and subscribe. I don't think I'll have another one like this beyond today, as you can see, but certainly early next week we'll start talking about it a lot more. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day 1 because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.